Load cadmium orange into my brush and start applying it on my paper from the upper left corner, working in a wet and wet technique. I paint the tree shape first and then the final details. The shape will be oval. I do mostly white strokes. I add extra water to my brush, but I also leave white gaps to make highlights. I have already put orange and I'm going to load cadmium red light. I apply it considering that the sun is touching my tree from the right side upwards, so we apply more from the left side and closer to the middle. I load cadmium red in the middle and down with strokes as well, and sometimes overlap the previous layer and gaps. Sometimes I leave it untouched. Pigments are blended on my paper. I load red pigment into my brush again, but more intense. Sometimes I go beyond the tree shape and start adding details, small dots and lines. Well, you can do that later. I'm going to mix red cadmium light with burnt sienna. I got a warm red, a dark mix and apply it. I went a little to the middle, but not completely, and with small strokes and dots, I add dark pigment there. Because the lower layers are still wet, blending happens. The intensity will be lost, but will give such a slightly dark red hue. I add to the bottom of the tree. You can write in your comments or somewhere else what technique you find the easiest painting to do. I think this technique is one of the easiest. The main thing is to have time to add all your colors while it's still wet, but you can add the last layer when it's even a little dry. It's okay, just watercolors will be more contrasting, it looks more intense. You can add a light hue if possible and mid-tones. I loaded red pigment into my brush and add details on different sides and add more intense color to the middle. Make contrasting spots. On the right side, on the left side I add leaves to the tops with thin lines and dots, sometimes small strokes. This is slight pressure on the belly of my brush. I put some more orange on the top of the tree to make leaves look raw. This gives more of some kind of dynamics and realism. When we have many different details, then it seems to us that everything is fine, everything is as it should be. Our tree has depth. You can add more details as you like. I see pigments, are still wet and I am helping to make blending more intense. Well, I like my result that I get. And I'm going to move on to the trunk, but I still add a little darker color to the bottom of the tree. I make a fresh batch of cadmium red and burnt sienna and lay it down to the foliage. But finally I'm already moved to the trunk of the tree. I grab a burnt sienna, mix it with Payne's gray and put my first line on the trunk which runs in the middle of our tree. I paint two lines on the left side. I make a wider stroke. I rinse my brush and pull the pigment with clean water, and in a natural way the pigment blends with water and makes a natural gradient. If you watched my previous videos with trees, you will see that basically I paint in the same vein and you can already fix it in your muscle memory, and this is great. A new skill is always great. I add a ground line with intense pigment into my brush, wash it off the brush in water. I load water into my brush, remove excess water on the edge of a jar or paper towel and pull the pigment. Smooth blending happens. This is the magic of watercolor. I'm going to put foliage on the ground with dots and lines. You can apply dark or lighter hues. I move on to painting branches. You can use a size 2, smaller, round synthetic brush. For this, we will paint branches with the tip of the brush. Load a mix of burnt sienna and Payne's gray into the brush and paint some branches neatly with the tip of the brush without pressing hard. If your line breaks, it's okay, it will give dynamics to our tree. I put some branches and I like my result already. I think I can stop there.